This is assignment 3 of chapter 2. It actually starts at the bottom of page 51, but most of it's on page 52. And the first question says, insert the date using the today function. Typing equal today bracket bracket inserts the date from the computer clock. So you do it by saying equal today and then open a bracket and close a bracket and press enter. The reason you have to have the brackets is that all functions start with an equal, have the name of the function and have a set of brackets. Question 2 says calculate the percentage of the stalls that was full, the percentage of the circle that was full and the percentage of the balcony that was full for each performance. Format these cells using the % style button. So let me take that question in sections. Calculate the percentage of the stalls that was full. So in D8, we want to work out on the 8th of September 2014, what percentage of the stalls were full. There were 150 seats in the stalls taken, and altogether there are 300 seats in the stalls. So the 150 is in C8 and the 300 is in I3. But I want the I3 to be an absolute cell reference, so I must remember to put the dollars in before the I and the 3. So the formula is equal C8 divided by $I, $3. Press enter to have that accepted and use the fill handle to copy the formula into the other cells. It doesn't look very nice at the moment because the numbers are written as decimals, not as percentages. That will be resolved as soon as we format using the % style button. Now I'm going to do a similar thing for the circle. So on the 8th of September 2014, there were 300 people in the circle out of a possible 350 seats. So in F8, I'm going to type equal E8 divided by I4. And because I want I4 to be an absolute cell reference, I need to include dollar signs. So $I, $4. Press enter to have that accepted. Use the fill handle to copy it into the other cells and format it to look like percentages. And a similar thing for balcony, equal G8 divided by I5 with dollar signs on that. $I, $5. Copy the formula into the other cells, format it to look like percentage. Question 3 says, calculate the total tickets sold for each performance. Don't be tempted to use sum here because if you try to sum that row, you're including numbers that are not part of the seats. So what we're better off doing is just saying equal C8 plus E8 plus G8. And press enter and copy it down for the rest. Question 4 says, calculate the percentage of the venue that was full for each performance. Format these cells using the % style button. In order to work out the total percentage full, we actually need to know the total number of seats. So I have actually written this in here. It makes it a lot easier than trying to add these three numbers in the formula. So it's very similar. It's equal I8 divided by, and in this case the number 900 is in E4, so $E, $4. $E, $4. Return and copy it down for the rest of the cells and make it look like percentage. So question 5 says, calculate the total sales, average sales, highest sales, lowest sales, and number of performances in the stalls. Use copy and paste to copy the functions that calculate the total, average, highest, and lowest sales to the circle and the balcony. So really, we're being asked to do 5 things. Total sales is use the function sum. Average sales is use the function average. Highest sales is use the function max. Lowest sales is use the function min. And number of performances, we can either use count if we count up the dates, or count A if we count up the names of the acts. And then we will use copy and paste to get sum, average, max and min under the columns for circle and balcony. So the first thing I want to do is get total sales for stalls. So that's going to be in C16. And I will use fx to find the function called sum. So because we used it fairly recently, it's there. If it's not there, type it in here and click go. When I click OK, it is making a suggestion of C8 to C15. It's slightly wrong because we can actually go as far as C14 and leave it at that. So we type C14, and when I say OK, that function has written itself into the formula bar, equals sum, open a bracket, C8 colon C14, close the bracket, and the answer is 1546. So I'm going to do a very similar thing for average, max, min, and count or count A. So in C17, I want my answer to be, so I'll click into C17, I'll click FX, I will find average and say OK, and it's now suggesting C8 to C16. Well, that's not correct. It's C8 to C14. So I will just correct that and say OK. And now in the formula bar you can see equal average, open a bracket, C8 colon C14. In C18 I'm going to input the max function, and the procedure is very similar. Now it has no reasonable suggestion at all here, so we'll just completely get rid of that. We know we want to get the max of the range C8 to C14. C8 colon C14. We say OK to that. We're going to do this similar thing with min. Now, you could do number of performances in either of 2 ways. You can either decide to count up the dates, and because they're numbers, we can use the function count, or you can decide to count up the names of the acts. And if we do that, we need to use count A. So I'm going to do it that way. FX, I used count A fairly recently, so it's in the list. And I say OK. And because the names are in column A, it's actually A8 colon A14. And we say OK to that. Then it says use copy and paste to copy the functions that calculate the total, average, highest and lowest sales to the circle and balcony. We don't need to keep repeating that there are 7 performances. So we're really only interested in these 4. And it has a note on the top of page 53 that says, in this case, the fill handle can't be used to copy the functions because this would also copy functions to columns D and E where they're not required. So what you do is you highlight the block of 4 things that you want to copy. You click the copy button. You now notice that you have what I call marching ants around that block, meaning it's active, and anywhere I ask it to paste, it will continue to paste until I stop those marching ants. So I want to paste those 4 things into a block which begins at E16. So I click on that and I click the paste button, and I also want to do it from G16. So I click G16 and I click the paste button, and I'm finished now. I don't really want to keep pasting, so in order to stop this marching ants going around and round, I will click the escape button or ESC button on my keyboard, and it just stops it being active. Question 6 says, center the heading in row 1 across columns A to H. So I've actually that done already. Format headings to bold as shown. So we have bold headings here. This side heading is bold. These side headings are bold. This heading beside the 900 is bold, and all of the side headings here are bold. Print the spreadsheet with grid lines and row and column headings displayed. So usually when you go to print, if you go to page layout, the norm is that grid lines and headings are not being printed. Now, grid lines are these faint lines between each cell. I think it's like grouting between tiles. And headings mean A, B, C, D, E, F at the top of each column, and the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. at the beginning of each row. Sometimes you do want to print them, and in this case we do. So I will put a tick in print grid lines and I will put a tick in print headings. Unless you're very specifically told to do so, do not take the tick out of view. We always want to be able to see on our screen the A, B, C and the 1, 2, 3 and the grid lines. So leave the ticks beside the words view, but now put additional ticks in beside the words print. It's always a good idea to check that if you're doing a spreadsheet, it looks better in landscape. And always check that you're printing onto A4 paper. So unless you're specifically told to print portrait, we tend to use landscape for spreadsheets. And when I go to print that, I go File, Print, find the printer you wish to print to, in your case you're printing to room 3 printer. I'm printing to the printer beside me in the room where I am recording this, and you click print and it goes to the printer and prints out. The next question says change stalls ticket sales for the blizzards to 200 and then verify some figures change in sympathy with that. So stalls ticket sales for blizzards is currently saying 150. I will click on that. I will press delete on my keyboard and type in 200. And I now will check that my answers are the same as those suggested. The stalls were 67% full for the blizzards. Yes, that has changed. Total ticket sales for the blizzards is now 720, which is over here. That's correct. Rock Cafe was 80% full during the blizzards, which is true. Total sales for the stalls is now 1596. That is true. Average sales for the stalls is now 228. That is true. So now we can save the spreadsheet as Rock Cafe. So File, Save As, make sure you're saving it into the correct folder, and just save it under the name Rock Cafe. And save. When you've done that, file and close, and your Excel is ready for your next assignment.